Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into the Three Circles Living podcast, where you can learn how to improve your life. And it doesn't matter if you want to accelerate your professional career, have better relationships, be healthier, or find fulfillment and purpose in life. You're at the right place. And always, please make sure to share it and also leave a comment with the nugget that you found most valuable. We would appreciate that for sure. We're going to talk a little bit more about mental health, mental stance, how to be strong in everyday life, and really diving into what we call silver linings and really say it like that, how to train your mind to find the good even when life gets hard. So,
Not even to train your mind, um, but to understand. It's more
Mhm.
perspective, right? To
Yeah.
understand that there's actually always good. I mean, it doesn't necessarily feel that way at times, but there is always good, right? The Stoics would say nothing is good or bad, right? It just
Mhm.
is. And, whatever is happening is what is intended naturally in the moment to happen. And I'm not saying that you can just wake up and poof, you can pop yourself into that mindset because that's not an easy one. We're all emotional human beings. And when our apple cart gets wrecked, we're pissed off or we're upset or we're frustrated or we're sad or whatever we are. And that's okay. We're supposed to be. That's just human. But, it's a normal thing.
I want to say real quick the Stoics because you brought them up. Um, if you can read the books, there are probably podcasts on it too, but Ryan Holiday has some great books on this topic and really in for our days, like right now, not like hundreds of years ago, make it actually actionable. It's a game changer. I highly recommend that.
Yeah. Plus, he does a really nice job of the amount of research he does to collate so many stories and create, follow threads that go back through human times because everything that human beings deal with right now have been dealt with since the beginning of human beings. That's the nature of human beings, right? There aren't any new problems. They look different because of the nature of our world and evolution of technology, but the true human circumstances never changed. And so that's why that stuff is great. And then if you, Chris, you mentioned that, and it's a really great place for someone to start because you can then go into the real rabbit hole and read Seneca or read Marcus Aurelius. And I tell you, you can read Marcus Aurelius, you can't really read more than like 3 or 5 sentences at a time because you have to sit with it to really digest it. That's how deep and potent that stuff is, but it's
Mhm.
super duper helpful.
Yeah. So you we're talking about silver linings, and you
Mm-hmm.
like alluded to it. It's the power of how we look at things, our perspective, our perception, and how we deal with challenges when they come up. Because it's like you said, it's always hard when you're in the middle of it. And I'm I'm an emotional being. I always get very angry and then I don't see left or right. I'm just seeing red and everything just sucks and everything's a problem. And so how would you say, talking a little bit more about that, why is it so important that we see those silver linings and take us out of it? And how can we spot them, like when we're in it?
So that's actually the easiest thing. Um,
Mm.
it's really just the kind of the breadth of it. How big is it? Because we can get aggravated by little things, right? But that's are there silver lines in little things? Yep. Yeah, there are because they're little reminders day by day. And by the way, that the whole idea of silver linings, that's props to my wife. She's the one that used that term several years ago, as I was actually writing the book, talking about a circumstance that we had were in that moment that I described in the book. But essentially, I heard years ago that life doesn't happen to you; it happens for you. I think that's too limited. That perspective. I think it's a great starting point. but it also happens for you, for others, right? If you haven't been through much in life, you will have very little strength of character. And the smallest things will seem monumental to you. Um,
Mhm.
but on the other side of it, you also won't be empathic. You won't be able to help others, and you'll never be inspiring to someone else because nobody cares if someone's life has been a bed of roses and then they accomplish something. That's not inspiring to someone. That's it's like bully for you. But when someone has navigated something difficult and progressed to accomplish something of, and it doesn't even have to be like a massive accomplishment. It can be a nice everyday accomplishment because that's where we live. We live every day, and that inspires someone. It's like, well, if they could get through it, I can get through it, and
Mhm.
that struggle is meaningful. But I think about it. There's so many layers to the idea of silver linings, and we can apply it to challenges, but you can apply it to change. You can apply it to any aspect where what you're hoping is occurring is not what occurs. But usually we attach it to things that they're like earth shattering at the time, right?
Mhm.
Like the loss of a job that's unexpected and you're not prepared, of course, and that's devastating, right? It's not just
Mhm.
devastating from the standpoint of how you're going to navigate the financial whirlwind that creates, but it's devastating in how you feel humanly. It's like, oh, I'm no good. It takes you down this rabbit hole of what I did wrong or what's wrong with me or all that stuff. And the reality is that the challenge in the moment is we're not able to zoom out in the moment, right? So
Mhm.
if we can zoom out and go, this is a tiny blip in my life, a blip, right? I mean, it's this this 1 week, or even if it's a 6 month season that is just atrocious, right? It's just a sliver of your life, right? And if we can zoom out and recognize, this is going to pass, no matter how much you feel like you can't get through it, you're going to get through it. You already have gotten through stuff. But you have to recognize that in everything there is gain, right? There is gain. There's either the thing went the way you wanted, which we wouldn't be talking about silver linings if that was the case, right? So we have to look at it the other direction. There's still gain even when your life went ballistic in the wrong direction. Something horrible happened. And obviously, the more horrible it is, and you can drill down to the death of a loved one, right? That's how can there be a silver lining in that, right? But there are many, and we all recognize that when we can zoom back in time, because years later there was value in that experience for us, what we learned from that, the lessons we learned about how that occurred or what it meant, or living in the day, right? Someone gets cancer and they survive, and the experience is absolutely horrible for them, but getting through it, there are many people, I've talked to many people who've been through cancer who said, I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but I wouldn't take it back because it's totally changed the way I see the world. It's totally changed my appreciation of the days. And so if you think about it, everything has gained from the perspective of the learning and the
Yeah.
character building, and then the application of what it does for you going forward in life. You can't gain an appreciation for what's going on in the moment until you've been through a lot of things, right? You just can't, right? It's like you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And if you focus on worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, this could go wrong and that could go wrong. Well, you're correct. They could, but they're not going wrong in this moment. In this moment, you have this moment, right? Right now, you have this. How's your world right this second? Right? It's very interesting. So it totally shifts your perspective when you at least understand that I'm going to make it through, and there's going to be good from this. And there are a variety of them, right? There's a variety of different kinds, but that's kind of the way that I look at it in general, and I feel blessed to have been through so many silver lining things in my life because they have shaped an amazing life. I wouldn't
Mhm.
have this life without them. And
Yes.
sometimes, and this is even a wilder thing to think, sometimes the thing you want the most not working out is the best thing that could have ever happened to you. And that's like, I'm sorry, Todd, I don't like that one. I think I'd rather have the opportunity to see, right?
Yeah.
But no, that's the point. That if that fork worked, that what's down there might not be anywhere remotely to what's going to
Mhm.
make you the best person.
You said so many good things. I don't even know where to start, but I think the rule here again, and you've heard us say that in the last episodes too, is you become aware, be aware, reflect on things. And you don't, when you're in the middle of it, you do not see it. You do not know what will come out of it. That I think that's the hardest part, at least for me. And if you're a control freak, then definitely. And if you want to plan things, just sorry, does not happen that way. But you can also, and I think like touching back to gratitude, like when you're in the moment of of something, of a challenge, of something happening, think about, okay, I don't know what it's coming, what will be coming of this, but let me assume that something great is going to come out of this and imagine it that way. Like you don't know it yet. Be surprised. Be positively surprised what's going to happen, and get in that feeling, even though I understand it's not easy to do in that moment when you feel all the feelings. Um, and you touched on a lot of things here too. Like I have so many examples just thinking about my life, like relationship not working out. If relationship had worked out, I would not be here right now. I would sit in Germany, and who knows, what would have happened. But also like other things, like you talked about the death of a loved one. I can definitely attest to that, but also like things that you survive. I had just to give a quick example for the listeners, I had a accident. My first car accident was in the US when I was here in my first year of being here. And it was a new car. Never had an accident, never had anything before. And my husband was deployed. So great. And I was stuck in the middle of the road at 6:30 in the morning in the darkness.
Hmm.
Um, Deer hit me. I didn't hit the deer. It ran into my car. I blame the deer. Uh, but it totaled my car on the scene. Brand new car. I had no clue what to do. I felt lost. My husband not here. I can't just call him. He's deployed in a war zone. I can't call my parents. They don't know what to do, and I also don't want to scare them. It just wasn't a car accident. Like, what's going on? So, but hindsight, like the silver lining, like I've learned so much how to deal with those things, how to have a plan, who to call, all of it. Like I would not, if anybody had done it for me, I would have never learned these things, even though it sucked. It really sucked for a lot
Yeah.
of different reasons, you know. But I think it's so crucial that you reflect on these things, like anything that has happened, and see like how your life shifted because of it and where you get to be now because of it.
Well, bottom line is you are right now where everything in your life has brought you.
Hmm.
And if you wished something didn't happen, then you are in essence saying you wish you didn't have the life you have right now because you wouldn't. Now, it might be worse, it might be better, but it would be different. It wouldn't be what it is now because it all is part of the journey for
Yeah.
everybody. And by the way, you could blame the highway administration because instead of putting the sign on the road that says a deer could, a little deer jumping sign, they should have the sign in the woods that shows a car so the deer can see that and go, I probably shouldn't go there. But, because apparently the sign that says deer could be jumping, that's not doing anything. But that's a whole nother.
Yeah, there were a lot of things going on. Um, but I mean, there are so many situations just thinking back to it that, I think that that is the important part, to learn from those experiences. And then if anything like that is happening again, or even like something completely different, you are in a much better place because you make it through.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the two times I lost my job before I'd started my first business and never went back to a job. But the first time I met my wife, who is the love of my life, I never would have met her circumstantially. I never would have met her if the first event didn't happen. And if the second event didn't happen, I would have never started a business, which led to so many amazing fruits, right? It led to a life that, not that it was an easy journey, and there were many catastrophes in my perspective in that journey for a while. And there's been ups and downs all over the place and everything, but all those things led to everything else, right? They helped uncover gifts. They created new opportunities. They force you to grow up and take responsibility and stop blaming and doing, you become a better human through your experiences. And the people in life who, I think I mentioned Malcolm Gladwell on our last, because he writes some great stuff. I haven't read his most recent work, but he talks about the wealth effect on young people. There is a point in the curve, in the bell curve of wealth, where the wealthier you get, the more of a negative impact it has on the development of the child or the life of the child, because they don't have any true hardship. They do. I mean, you will never remove the emotional struggle, but if you give a kid a false sense of confidence without development, because they're surrounded by wealth and money can get them whatever they need, holy cow, is their life going to be insanely hard when all of a sudden they're out in the world and and nobody cares about that, and they have to be accountable for actions. And that you can see this. People who have really hard lives when they're early in life, and a lot of those people go on to accomplish wonderful things because difficulty looks different to them, because the silver lining of all that was they're better prepared when they get to the point of taking personal responsibility, right? You have to cross that threshold, and everybody does it at a different time. If they do it, there are people that never do it, and they end up in places we're not going to talk about. But the sooner you get there, the more your life looks different and becomes positive going forward.
Yeah. One thing, because you said positive, I definitely have heard, I don't know how you think about it, but the phrase, the toxic positivity. And there is a difference. We're not saying like just be positive and no matter how much you struggle, like we understand that I feel like, for me at least, and I'll let you speak to it here in a second, I allow myself to feel all the pain. I think it's important, and really to let the feelings go and not dismiss them. I can feel that, but still have hope that something good will come from this, or that I will get through this. Don't know what it looks like, but I'll make it happen because it happened before and I know I can do it. And other people have done it, even if you haven't done it.
Yeah.
So
I
just
do
be,
want I want you to explain your perspective on toxic positivity. But before you do, I want to address one thing about you saying you want to feel the pain. A lot of people don't want to feel the pain, and they medicate the pain, right? You medicate it with alcohol, you medicate it with drugs. Some people medicate it with porn, people medicate it with television, they medicate it with food, right? They've instead of sitting in it, experiencing it, and journaling, reflecting, thinking, problem solving, doing the positive things. And the reality is, if you medicate it, you miss the lesson. You can't medicate it. You have to be in it. Matter of fact, recognize you can never experience true happiness unless you've experienced true sadness. You can't, right? You have to have the whole range. It's necessary. there's light and there's dark, right? There's day and there's night. There's evil and there's good. There's that's the nature of life. That's the nature of nature. And it's just it takes a while to get wise enough to recognize that. But you can't medicate it. You have to deal with it. If you medicate it, you're kicking the can down the road. And when you have to deal with it later, it's like procrastination, right? You're procrastinating learning. You don't want to procrastinate learning and development, right? You want to be in that and do the development because you'll have to face it sooner or later, or you will destroy your life. That's the bottom line. You'll end up destroying your life because you didn't want to face it, which destroying your life is going to be worse. But back to what you said about toxic positivity. Describe that to me.
I think I don't feel it, but I've heard it like tossed around a lot where it's just being always optimistic and always like pushing through and saying, "Oh, like it's fine." You know, I think what toxic positivity is missing is that going through the pain, acknowledging it, being aware and feeling it, feeling the feels, like you said, reflect on it, sit in it. Like just don't continuously sit in it forever because
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
good. But also like you when you feel bad, you don't have to say, "Oh, everything's great." Like just it's not. We can be honest about that. We can name that. We can say that. That's okay.
Okay.
Just know that it will not stay that way.
So I would put that in the realm of image, right? That's
Mm,
what I would consider toxic positivity because it's fake,
hmm.
right? Nobody is positive all the time. That's not a thing. So anybody that's being positive every moment, and there might be circumstances and situations where someone has to be the positive voice because that's necessary and they stand up, a leader often, but they still have to share some measure of vulnerability. In a difficult situation, they have to share the good of what we're in,
Hmm.
but they also have to address and acknowledge the reality of the feeling. And that's I am I on the right track about that? Like it's dismissing the feeling side, right?
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't let that bother you kind of thing because
Yeah.
this is all wonderful and great. I think that's I would submit that it goes both ways in today's culture, but we have a huge issue, and we probably will do a podcast on this. Image and invulnerability is a major issue in our culture, in this country, definitely. And the bottom line is authenticity. That's like a superpower, right? If you're
Mm.
willing to be real, that is magnetic. And if you're not being real, you'll be found out, which is why it's toxic, right? Because
Yeah.
it's destructive.
Exactly. Wow. I know we can talk more about that and we will talk more about that, especially if you guys have any questions or want us have further discussion points, happy to do that. But real quick, like we've talked about it, we a little bit here and there, but what can you do to really find those silver linings and train that muscle that you actually see those things? We talked about being grateful, being grateful for the future, what will come out of this. Journal about your thoughts, let them come out. Like I always say that when I go through something or when a friend goes through something, speak it out. Like just talk about it, whatever it is, like the worst words. You can scream them at me. I don't care, but get it out. Don't let it linger in your body. And then whatever you need to do, if it's journaling, talking about it, thinking about it, whatever it is, reflect on it and really see also, like I also encourage you not just reflect on when you go through it now, but on any challenges that you've been through and how you've gotten through those. And then another encouragement on top of that shared with others, like Todd said, like I don't think we're open enough. And I actually just had a conversation with a friend that I haven't talked to in a while, but we had a in-depth, deep conversation going down all the big topics. And it was just so freeing, but also I'm grateful what she shared with me, and she was grateful what I shared with her because it gave a different perspective and it gave hope.
Yes,
And-
that's a big word. It's a big word. So I can give the listeners an exercise that's really,
Mhm.
really helpful. It's something that I've used in teachings for decades. Sit down and journal this and spend a little time with it. But think about massive, massive things that occurred in your life that you found to be incredibly hard or horrible or difficult in your life in the time it happened. And again, we've touched on things that it could be. It could be a death or a loss of a job or something that you failed at in your mind or whatever, right? It's something that was devastating at the time to you. And now that you're years past that, look back at that and note all the positive things that have come as a result of that. Where did that take you? That is a very eye-opening exercise to do. It's very beneficial.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, well, thanks for making this happen, Chris.
Of course, I'm happy to. All right, listeners, you have some homework. As always, we leave you with things to improve your life. That's the name of the game. So, again, thank you for tuning in, and we're looking forward to our next episode.
See you next time.
Bye, guys.